There will be no more death, no more sickness, no more pain. Injustice and wickedness are blotted out of our very vocabulary. Christ will reign supreme. He will right every wrong. He will bring every dictator to his knees, and every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. There is a good ending to the story you're walking in. There is a good ending. All things do work together for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. I love how the writer of Hebrews encourages us to stay in the story, and in his words, to stay in the race. Don't give up the race. Don't give up the story. Notice what the writer of Hebrews says in Hebrews 12, verse 1-2. Therefore, since we also have a large cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us lay aside every hindrance and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Another word for that is clinging to us, the weight that clings to us. Let us run with endurance the race that lies before us, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy that lay before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. The writer of Hebrews in chapter 11 has laid out all of the amazing heroes of faith, and he says, you're not alone in your story. There is a large cloud of witness surrounding you. And Ruth is a part of that cloud of witness. There is a large cloud of witness who are saying, I went through pain and I stayed in the story. I went through loneliness and I stayed in the story. I was fed to the lions and I stayed in the story. In life or death, I stayed in the story. And right now, there is a massive cheering squad invisible to us. But there is a cloud of witnesses that are saying, stay in the story. Don't give up your faith. It's worth it. Jesus is worth it. A cloud of witnesses that are saying to you and I, you can stay in the story. The writer of Hebrews says, lay aside every hindrance and sin. Usually we identify the sin, but there are also hindrances. Things that are not sinful, but they're not helpful either. Morally neutral things that are a weight, that distract us in the stories, that weigh us down. And he's saying, don't cling to anything but Jesus. Lay aside every weight. And how is it that we follow Jesus in the story? We keep our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. Jesus who endured the cross. We can stay in the story of God because Jesus stayed in our story. Jesus stayed in our story by staying on the cross. Jesus could have gone out. He could have tried to take himself out of the equation, but he didn't. He stayed on the cross. Therefore, he stayed in your story. Enduring the shame, the humiliation, the crucifixion, the agony, he thought of you and said, you're worth it. So I'm staying in the story so that you could have freedom. You could be forgiven. You could be brought near to God. The only way we stay in the story is looking at Jesus, who writes our story, who's committed to us. Long before Ruth was committed to God, God was committed to her. And even today, if your commitment is waxing and waning, you've got an author of your faith, the pioneer and perfecter of your faith. He is Jesus. He stayed in the story for you in the midst of pain and invites you in the midst of your pain to stay with him. He walks with you. He walks with you. So I'm asking you today, take a leap of faith, but not a leap of faith in the dark, but a leap of faith in the light. God has revealed himself to you in the scriptures. He has revealed his faithfulness. So today, for just a moment, could you peer away from the current reality that has torn down your confidence in God, and you peer into the scroll of God's faithfulness across history? Just take a moment to gaze in your own heart at the scroll of God's faithfulness, his steadfast love across the ages. Charles Spurgeon would say, I've learned to kiss the waves that have thrown me against the rock of ages, because the pain of your life brings you to your knees, so dependent on him. Think, God, I need you to walk with me.